Reddit overload presents. What is the worst thing that has happened at a high school reunion party that you attended? Before we begin, remember to leave a like and subscribe. At my 10-year high school reunion, we had a decent turnout, maybe 100 plus people. We were at a pretty nice hotel banquet hall. There was one guy I had known all through high school, and he was a well-known stoner. I'll call him Chris for this story. I see Chris walk into the banquet hall, stop in his tracks, turn around in a very slow 360-degree circle, surveying the entire room. He just says, "Whoa," and he looks visibly alarmed. He stops and his eyes settle on me. I say, "Hey, Chris. Long time no see, man." He kind of slides over to me and whispers in my ear, "This is really weird. I'm pretty sure I know every single person in this room." And that is when I realize he is wearing the same clothes as all the banquet hall workers. Oh my god. Chris is working as a server at his own high school reunion, and he has no clue what is happening. I walk him out to the front lobby and explain it's our 10-year high school reunion. He is mortified, beyond embarrassed. He was never contacted and didn't even realize it had been 10 years since we graduated. He just knew he was working another catering gig in a never-ending series of catering gigs. I make him take me to his manager. I explain what is happening and tell the manager there is no way this guy's working his own high school reunion. Awesomely, the manager agrees. We find a different suit jacket and tie for him, and I take Chris back to the party. He ended up having a good night. 5-year reunion. One guy, always kind of a marginal figure in HS, but a nice person, after some sort of discussion, got his paycheck out and got loud saying, "Now do you think I'm a loser? Don't believe how much I make." Check this out. Of course, he just made things worse and everyone was laughing at him. I mean, he had his paycheck on him. Haven't seen him since. BTW. At my 10-year reunion, the organizers were doing the thing where they give awards for the person who came the farthest to attend, the person with the most kids, etc. The award came up for who had the oldest kid, and people started shouting out their kids' ages. When it quieted down, this shy girl near the front said in a normal voice, 11, and then we all realized why we had stopped seeing Heather right before graduation. Someone who was considered a popular kid at my high school tried to organize our 10-year high school reunion on a cruise ship. Obviously no one wanted to shell out that kind of money, so the reunion never happened. Not mine, but my mother went back to her 40-year reunion last summer. In December she left my father, 36 years of marriage, for her high school sweetheart, and is now living with him. When I was in 7th grade, this rich snob bully, John, grabbed off my head a wool scarf my mother had knitted for me. He threw the scarf into a pile of muddy leaves and jumped up and down on it. When I went home that day my mother was furious when she saw the torn, muddy scarf. She made me tell her who did it. Then she called the school principal and yelled at him. The next day John got pulled into the principal's office and paddled. That was back when they still paddled kids. 55 years later, at our 50th class reunion, John came up to me and angrily said, "You got me into trouble in 7th grade. I got him in trouble?" And he's still mad about it, 55 years later. I said, "John, you were a dick in high school, and you're still a dick," and I walked away. It's been a decade since I finished school. I see an old classmate sometimes when he does maintenance work in my apartment block. About a year ago he asked if I was going to the reunion organized by some of our classmates. I said no, because I couldn't think of anything worse and also hadn't been invited. Apparently they organized it over Facebook, which I don't have. When I next saw him 6 months later I asked how the reunion was, and he exasperatedly explained that it had been a real shit show. The mean girls had started planning it together, fell out and then started each planning their own. So there was about 4 shitty tiny awkward parties and everyone was confused. Small college reunion with my core group of friends from university. This was about 5 years after graduation. We all partied pretty hard in school, but mellowed out in our late 20s. Decided to all meet up for dinner at a local bar/restaurant. Think Applebee's, but nicer. One guy showed up already wasted, with a duffel bag full of multiple packets of weed, and the bottle he started on before meeting us. He decided we were boring. finished his bottle in the restroom, and refused to come out. He ended up passing out there. Bartender kicked him out. He came alone in an Uber, and we had no idea where he lived. None of us wanted to take him to our places. He was angry, puking and belligerent, so we dropped him off at his last known address, his parents' house. Both of them answered the door, and we handed him over. It was past midnight and incredibly awkward. He's not invited to the next reunion. My 50th is scheduled for October. All this is inspiring me to go just to see what happens. I hope I can get across the country by then. During our reunion, a social group of cool people that I had cordial relations with during high school, but was never part of, all met up and were pretty happy about it. Until it somehow came out over alcohol that all of them had been basically having orgies together during high school, except one of them. He had always seemed like a core member of the group from the outside, not unattractive or anything, but for some reason he was just never clued into the fact that all his friends were fucking each other en masse for basically as long as they knew each other. There was some very eye-opening loud screaming. The people who were supposed to plan our high school reunion dropped the ball, so I figured it wouldn't happen. But then this other dude from our high school stepped up to plan it. He was in a graduate program and also working part-time at a banquet hall, and he said that his boss would give us the banquet hall space for free. It was a really nice gesture, and he seemed really into it. He had been miserable in high school. Grumpy, sullen, unpleasant, mean to other people. He came out in college, so maybe the weight of having to keep it a secret was part of why he was so unpleasant. Maybe he'd be more fun now. I was working a shit job and had no savings at the time, so I was neither interested in having my former classmates pity me, nor was I gunning to shell out a lot of money to attend. Plus my shitty ex might be there, and that didn't feel worth it. The organizer made a Facebook event and asked people to Venmo him the cost of admission prior to attending. He wanted something like $15-20 a head, I can't remember. Anyway, it didn't really feel worth paying for. Maybe if there would be some drinks included or something, I would go for an hour. I sent him a private message asking what the admissions ticket covered. Food, drinks. The space was free, after all. He posted publicly on the Facebook page that if the cost of admission was too steep, message me and we can work out some financial aid. What? I then publicly posted asking what the admission cost covered. No response. Other people asked too. He said it would go towards having a bartender and server dedicated to the event space, as well as towards food. Okay, fair. Folks, he was the server. My friend showed up having not yet paid him, and he barred her entry. The people who had paid the admission cost showed up to an empty banquet hall, were given a menu by their former classmate, and told to order their own food and drink from him. He pocketed the admission ticket money as his fee. After an hour, he brought out one grocery store sheet cake for 75 people to share. That was it. Thanks for watching, and remember to leave a like and subscribe. Have a good day.